Welcome, students. What we're going to be doing in this video is going over 3 of the practice problems for assignment 89. I'll be going through them step by step, and then you'll complete the rest of the practice problems on your own. First, we're going to look at problem number 1. You're asked to determine whether the quadrilateral is a parallelogram based on the information given and to justify your answer. So you should not just be saying yes or no, but explaining why it is or is not a parallelogram. So in this situation, Theorem 6.9 states that if opposite sides are congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. And in this picture, we can see that the quadrilateral has opposite sides that are equal, which also means that they're congruent, so it is a parallelogram. Now, as a note and a reminder, the instructions for the first 3 problems require complete sentences, and I will only sign off on work that's done in complete sentences. It's important to learn how to write your math using the proper terminology. So as you go on to complete problems 2 and 3 that are like this one, make sure you use complete sentences. Next, we'll look at problem number 4. You are given a quadrilateral with numbers and variables, and you're asked to find x and y so that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Well, we know that from our theorems that on parallelograms, the opposite angles are congruent to each other, meaning they have equal measure. So that if we set the opposite angles equal to each other, then it will be a parallelogram. So the first angle we'll look at is x, the one with 7x and 56, those two opposite angles. 7x equals 56 is our original setup. You'll divide both sides by 7, and then you can get that x must equal 8. Okay, that's the first step in making it a parallelogram, but we have to also make the other two opposite angles equal to each other or congruent. So our original setup will be 5y minus 26 equals 4y plus 4. Whoops, sorry about that. You'll subtract 4y from both sides. And I put the equal sign there as a reminder to let you know it has to happen on both sides. Sometimes I see people try and do that on the same side of the equal sign. And remember, we only can do this if we're not technically changing the value of the equation, and so when you do the same thing on both sides of the equal sign, you're not changing the value of the equation. That's why it works. So after we subtract that 4y from both sides, we get y minus 26 equals 4. Next, we'll add 26 on both sides of the equal sign, and that will cancel out on the left to leave us with just y, and we'll get y equals 30. So if x equals 8 and y equals 30, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram because both pairs of opposite angles will be congruent. Next, let's look at problem number 5. Again, you're finding x and y so that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. This time, instead of angles, we're looking at opposite side lengths. So we have another theorem that says for parallelograms, the opposite side lengths must be congruent. Or another way for proving it is the idea that if it's for a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram, testing it, then the opposite side lengths are equal. So I'm going to talk about the x side first, and then I'll talk about the y. So we would set it up with 3x plus 4 equals 5x minus 2 because they're opposite each other. We will subtract 3x from both sides, opposite of the equal sign, on each side of the equal sign. That will leave us with 4 on the left and 2x minus 2 on the right. We'll add 2 to both sides. That leaves us with 6 equals 2x. And finally, when we divide by 2, we get x equals 3. Now I'll repeat that procedure for the y. We're going to start with 4y minus 9 equals 2y plus 5, since those sides are opposite. Subtract 2y from each side. Darn, I did that again. Sorry. That'll leave us with 2y minus 9 equals 5. Add 9 to both sides. We get 2y equals 14. And then we will divide both sides by 2 to get y equals 7. So in this quadrilateral, when x equals 3 and y equals 7, the quadrilateral must be a parallelogram because opposite sides are congruent. Finish up the rest of the problems on your own. Hopefully you will have no problems. If you do have any questions or problems, just go ahead and shoot me an email, and I will see you all in class next week.